Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Bet Right Sports Betting Podcast presented by the Six Pack Coverage Media Network. It's your host, Jeff Rowell, here with my co-host, Andrew Tanzi, coming at you to break down everything you need to know for Week 16 in the NFL season. Only 3 weeks left in the regular season. We are chugging right along. How did Week 15 treat you, Rue?
Finally, a pretty decent week. Started off pretty good on Thursday. Saturday, not so great with the Ravens loss, but pretty big day on Sunday. So it ended up being a pretty decent week.
Yeah, it was a fun week. Somehow I ended up on the Vikings, the Raiders, the Lions, all in the same week. Wild finishes, tons of fun. Killed it last week. And we had the World Cup Sunday morning. It was a great week of sports.
Yeah, awesome week. And we were definitely on, the right side of some luck in some of our picks, but it all
Yeah.
evens out at the end of the year. But we've had
Yeah,
some
we also
bad
bet the
luck, some good luck.
Cardinals and had the Cardinals
Yeah,
and teasers. I mean, that was some bad luck there. But yeah,
yeah.
all evens out. Debate of the week last week. Boy, there's nothing evening out or luck with related to this. I just crush you every single week. The Cleveland Browns -3 against the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens ran for like 250 yards. I felt like they were in scoring position every time I looked at the TV, and somehow they finished with 3 points miraculously and didn't even come close to covering. You go to 2-6 on the year on debates.
Yeah, well, when Justin Tucker missed that field goal, I just knew it wasn't going to happen, which it was
Well, the first one got blocked, and then he missed
no, the
that
second
one.
one got blocked. The
I
first
thought he
one was like
missed.
a 48-yarder, and then the
Oh, so he
second one
missed it
got
first,
blocked.
then it got blocked. Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
when that
then
happens, you're like, all right, I'm just done.
yeah, and it felt like such an evenly played game.
It was, yeah.
Both teams sucked. The Ravens just happened
Yeah.
to miss a couple field goals, and they had the brutal interception, but they were running the ball great. Like it's
Yes.
what I expected, and it was really disappointing. We're even more disappointed they didn't even cover the teaser legs. I had them in, they were probably my favorite
Tough.
teaser leg. I feel like I've, 6 times this year I've said the Ravens are my favorite teaser leg of the week, and they've covered like twice.
Yeah. The similar thing happens when I say that the Ravens are my favorite side of the week, and they end up not covering those either. Maybe we should just stop including the Ravens in anything.
I sense a trend.
Yeah. Favorite bets of the week. We had a very nice victory with the Cincinnati Bengals. It started
Never
off
in doubt.
as poorly as it could have. We're getting destroyed, and then all of a sudden the Bucs turn the ball over like 5 possessions in a row. And I mean, the Bengals weren't even playing good, but it's just when you start at the 20-yard line of the opponent every drive, good things are going to happen. So we both go to 7-7 on the year for our best bets.
Yeah, I was like, I got my recap year of the year for betting, and the Bucs were the team I lost the most money on. And I'm like, of course, the one time I bet against them, they're dominating and looking like the 2021 Bucs again. But then everything
looked good for one half.
Imploded. Yeah.
And then the Bengals took over, and the 3.5 was covered easily as we predicted. So that one felt good. Long shots of the week. You had a tough loss with yours, Ravens and Steelers, AFC North money line parlay. That drops you to 4-10 on the year. Unfortunately, the Ravens couldn't get done, but the Steelers did. So hopefully, you bet that one separate too.
Yes.
Uh, well, I got a nice win on my long shot with a miraculous Justin Jefferson 110 yards. Wasn't really worried about that, but the Vikings money line was severely in doubt at halftime. I watched the greatest comeback in NFL history, just like in a state of disbelief. And gets me a win on my long shot. Go to 4-8 on the year. Big win.
Yes. Still pretty speechless about that game, but fun to watch.
Yeah, it was probably about halfway through the third quarter where you're like, this is actually going to happen, isn't it? Like the Colts just couldn't get out of their own way. It's just,
yeah.
I mean, losing Jonathan Taylor on like the first play of the game didn't help, but still, I mean,
you should be able to blow a 33-point lead in one half.
Prop sheet. So we went 3-3 on Sunday. I did give a CMC over rush yards and Tua under pass yards on the earlier game since we did talk about them. So I had us at 5-3 on the week. Olave just missed. Joe Mixon got a ton of carries, but just couldn't get anything going. And then we did get Keenan, Amon-Ra, Pacheco to hit easily. So overall, decent week on the prop sheet.
Yeah, not bad.
All right, what do you have for your hero from week number 15?
I got to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers defense holding the Carolina Panthers to 208 total yards, 1.3 yards per carry, got 4 sacks, and just carried the team to win. The offense put up 24 points, but it was only 4.8 yards per play. So this was a big win for the defense for a team that's still playing hard. When you bet on the Steelers, you're betting on the defense, and they definitely came through this week.
Yeah, good things happen when you shut down the Carolina Panthers running game, something that I will touch on later in this podcast. Yes. My hero of the week, Not to stay in that game too much, but I mean, it has to be the Detroit Lions. What else can you say about this team? 6-1 in their last 7 games, 7-0 against the spread since November 1st. I have literally bet on them in every single game. They have officially cashed the season win total over that you had mocked earlier in the season. Dan Campbell is, I believe, second in the betting market for coach of the year. They're down to plus 120 to make the playoffs. The Detroit Lions train is coming down the tracks at full speed, and you better get on board or you better get out of the way.
I can't wait to fade them. This isn't the week, but
go ahead, fade them with the Panthers.
Not this week. No, not this week.
But that's the crazy thing, though. I feel like they've been playing incredible, and the market still is like undervaluing. Like they're under a field goal against the Panthers. Like I don't selling high, I get, but like I feel like you can't even sell them high yet because like people still aren't bought in. It's weird.
Yeah, I agree.
So maybe we'll get there eventually, but I don't think this is the week if you're trying to sell the lie.
Maybe come playoff time or something. Although if they end up playing like the Vikings in the first round and our 3-point underdogs, we're gonna have to bet the Lions in the playoffs.
Could be a weird setup. Yeah, if they get in the 7th seed. Maybe if they play the Niners or something in the first round, that would be
that would be ugly.
Goff against that defense. Yikes.
Yeah.
All right, who do you have for your 0 of the week from week number 15?
Yeah, just kind of touched on. It's got to be Tyler Huntley, 138 passing yards, only 4.6 yards per attempt. They had the running game going. They really couldn't get anything through the air. He threw the brutal interception, couldn't even get enough points to cover teasers. So pretty brutal week from Tyler Huntley. So 0 of the week.
I mean, kind of a little slack. He's a backup quarterback playing with no receivers. I mean, there's only so much you can do. I get he wasn't good. But
Figure it out. He's got enough experience. It's not like it was his first start. Dude's been, he's got like 8 NFL starts under his belt.
Doesn't mean he's good.
Played more than Deshaun Watson over the last couple of years.
Probably played better than Deshaun Watson, too.
Yeah, Watson did not look good again.
My 0 of the week, I went with Justin Herbert. I'm just kind of sick of all the Justin Herbert love.
They won the game, though.
No, they won the game. That's fine. They didn't cover this.
Yeah.
No, look, I took them live. I mean, luckily, most of my bet was on the money line, but I think I got like minus 4.5 when Ryan Tannehill's like leg fell off. Then all of a sudden he comes back in the game. But like,
and now he's done for the year, maybe.
I know. And now he's like, how did he come back in that game? I still don't get it. Like, but it's more just like the perception of Justin Herbert. Everyone wants him to be like the next great quarterback with Josh Allen and Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes. And I mean, he's just not even close to that level. He's not clutch. That the Chargers lose a million games a year that they're supposed to win in these spots. I know they won last week, but it was still an ugly game against the Titans secondary, missing 7 starters. I mean, they could barely move the ball on offense. Would they score 17 points or something?
It was pathetic. Yeah.
I mean,
and I had their team total over, and they scored.
Yeah, it didn't even come close. So did I.
I think they scored on their second possession of the game. And yeah, I'm like, this already bad secondary is missing everyone, and then they couldn't move the ball. It's just terrible.
Who did the Titans play the week before that lit them up? The Jaguars?
The Jaguars.
Yeah, they scored like 36 points, and the Chargers couldn't move the ball. I mean, it was, oh my God. Sick of Justin Herbert. Fading him again this week. Really? All right, we'll get to that game. Before we get there, we will start on Thursday Night Football for week number 16. First game on the slate is the Jacksonville Jaguars against the New York Jets. 2 teams fighting to keep their playoff hopes alive. The Jets are 1.5-point home favorites. The over-under is 37.5. Obviously, if you're not paying attention this week, weather is going to be an important factor in all of these games. So I'll make sure I give a forecast for all the games where it's going to be relevant for this one. Not going to be too cold, mid to high 40s, but we are seeing tons of rain in the forecast, 10 to 15 mile an hour winds. So the passing game might be impacted here. And this is a matchup between the number 1 and number 2 overall picks in last year's draft. Injury notes for the game: left tackle Cam Robinson done for the year for the Jaguars, and then Trayvon Walker, number 1 overall pick from this past year, out for the game. For the Jets, Mike White going to be out another week, so it will be Zach Wilson, and then Quinnen Williams, Corey Davis, and Zonovan Knight all questionable. It does sound like Zonovan Knight will go. The other guys we are not sure on. Do you have a play here in this one? Jets, Jags, basically at a pick 'em.
So I think the only thing worse than Zach Wilson is Zach Wilson with wins. So I'm curious to see what this passing game will look like if there's actually higher wins here. But
I feel like his only completions last week was him just like chucking it 60 yards down the field, and like Garrett Wilson would somehow catch the ball over a Lions defender who fell down. Like that was how he was completing passes.
And at one point you're like, okay, maybe he doesn't look terrible, but then he throws that like floater interception across the field.
There's like no Jets receiver in the picture. I mean,
there's Zach Wilson.
Yeah, there he is.
But I teased the Jags here when we got the 1.5. Should be, low total. Again, we like these teaser legs in low total games.
Yeah.
if the wind lives up to it, 15-mile-an-hour wind's not terrible. I think once you get over 20 is when you really start seeing the passing game affected. But even then, it could be with the wind or with the rain end up being a ground-based game. And I'll definitely take the Jags running game over the Jets in this one. And the Jags have kind of found new life, like 3-1 in their last 4 games. Lawrence, 9 touchdowns to 1 interception in those games, over 300 yards in 3 of them. It's not like they've been playing these dud defensive. The Cowboys and Ravens are both top 10 ranked defense, with the Cowboys being ranked number 1 heading into last week. Now, the defense, still serious issue, 34, 22, 40, and 28 points in the 4 games they won. But this is an ideal matchup to have, playing against Zach Wilson in bad weather. They have some athleticism on the defense. I know Trayvon Walker is going to be out. It's definitely a little bit of a hit, but it's a tough spot in terms of taking the Jags straight up, traveling to New York. We've already seen Lawrence have one pretty awful game in the rain against the Eagles earlier in the season. So I'm just taking the teaser leg. I'm not going to play them straight up though, but I would lean the Jags just because I'll never not fade Zach Wilson.
Never not fail. Okay. Yeah. I think I'm on board with pretty much everything you said there. I'm leaning Jags. The weather's holding me back a little bit. I guess it did give me a little bit more hope last week. Like Travis Etienne had been pretty bad on the ground through the past few weeks, like coming out of the bye, 13 for 54, 17 for 32. Looks like last week he got it going a little bit more, 19 carries for 103 yards against the Cowboys. So that definitely makes me feel a little bit better. The loss of Cam Robinson isn't great, and this is an offense that's really relied on the passing game. So I think kind of seeing what the weather looks like might be a little bit more important here if you do like the Jags, but I agree. I would lean that way. And I'm also kind of looking at the over here. I definitely want to see the forecast, but if it's going to be okay and you're going to be able to pass the ball, like a total in the mid to high 30s seems crazy for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're top 10 in pace of play. Their totals for the last 5 weeks, 44, 55, 54, 58, and 74. And I know the Jets have a good defense. They also have a quarterback who's dying to turn the ball over, and the Jets have gone over this total in 3 of their last 5. So if the weather checks out to be okay and we're going to get like a 37 here, I'm definitely going to be in on the over.
I can't get there on the over.
But what if if the weather checks out okay, you're telling me
if it's okay, but are we really going to know like before kickoff?
Like I feel maybe some beat reporters will tweet out pictures of the field and we'll be able to tell if it's terrible or not. I mean, I don't know.
All right.
Maybe you could live bet it. Watch the first drive, see how bad it looks, and then if it looks okay, maybe they go 3 and out or whatever. You can get it in the mid 30s.
All
right. Prop looks for you in this one. I have one that I like quite a bit.
I'm looking at Travis Etienne rush attempts. I saw it around 15.5, 16.5. 19 attempts last week, 17 the week before that. He was a little banged up the couple games before. The one game he only had 2 carries, 13 carries. But when he's healthy, he's getting the work. And if the weather is a concern here, you're going to expect him to lean on the running game here. So rush attempts for Etienne 15.5 or 16.5. I'm fine with whatever you can get.
Okay, I don't mind that. I like Christian Kirk over receptions quite a bit. We have over 4.5 at plus 100 right now on DraftKings. Zay Jones has been absolutely phenomenal. He's also probably going to see a lot of Sauce Gardner on the outside. Deep passes may be impacted by the wind and rain here. I think the Jets are a little bit more vulnerable in the slot as they are compared to outside receivers. Kirk has 7+ targets in 9 straight games. Hasn't really put up massive performances, but been very consistent. Catches over the last games have been over this number every single time: 6, 5, 6, 5, 9, and 8. So he's gone over in 7 straight. And he's getting the target volume. So especially if the weather does impact the downfield passing, I think Kirk in the slot for some of those lower A targets could be a good play at 4.5 plus money.
He's not really their lower A guy. I mean, he's the highest yards per reception on the team.
I think he still gets some of those lower ones.
I guess.
I mean, he can still break a big play, but I think if they're going to throw a deep ball, it's more likely to be Zay Jones and Christian Kirk.
I don't know.
All right.
Don't love it.
What do you not love? That he goes over it every single week? I mean, what else is he supposed to do?
Yeah, it depends on the weather. If it's a normal game, like you're saying, I think
they're still going to have to throw the ball.
I agree. Yeah. We'll see.
A weak counter argument. All right, let's go on to our Saturday slate here. We have a ton of games on Saturday, Christmas Eve, and then I think there's only 3 on Sunday, so very odd scheduling quirk here, but we will start with the New York Giants against the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are up to 3.5 to 4-point favorites now. This one's been bouncing around all week. The over-under is at 47.5. Eric Kendricks questionable for the Vikings linebacker. And then the Giants have Kayvon Thibodeau, Leonard Williams, and Evan Neal all in the injury report. Not really sure if they're going to play or not, but they are listed questionable. Do you have a play on this one, Giants and Vikings?
Who plays? I took
Okay.
the Giants at 4.5. I like them 4 or better, and I took the over 47.5. We have the battle of the horseshoe here. I think we may have had another matchup like that earlier. I think I remember saying that before, but this is the ultimate battle. Probably 2 of the luckier teams in the league. 8 wins for the Giants and 12 for the Vikings, and it's 5 and 5.4 expected wins respectively. They're 24th and 21st in overall DVOA. So just 2 teams that have really been outperforming the box scores almost all season. So, to me, like it from a motivation standpoint, and this is, I'm not huge on using it as a massive point in the handicap, but at this point in the season, like Vikings locked up the division. They're still fighting to stay in the 2 seed above San Francisco. The Giants are still trying to maintain their wild card spot.
Okay, so they're both motivated.
I'd say, from like after that win last week, coming back from 33 points, to me, it seems like, the Vikings locked the division. It's somewhat of a letdown spot.
But the Giants had an emotional division win too. It's going to be a letdown spot for them. They're on a short week on the road.
I guess it's still more of an important game to the Giants. Like the Giants can't afford to let up. The Vikings can drop, a game or 2 and still.
Yeah, but they're not going to.
Really. Okay. It's fine. Vikings defense, good matchup for the Giants, like still a massive issue. Not much pressure generated, which is huge for Daniel Jones. Favorable matchup for Saquon, who was just carrying the offense last week. He finally looked great after going through a little bit of a rut. And even with the major concerns I have about the Giants defense, we know Wink Martindale and this defense is going to get pressure. They're going to be blitzing. And the Vikings allowing the 5th highest pressure rate in the league right now. We know Kirk Cousins is a different quarterback under pressure. And, Giants 7-2 against the spread as underdogs this season, 4-1 on the road this season. Daniel Jones home road splits against the spread throughout his career, just a massive difference. And then from the over perspective, I took over 47.5. Vikings games have gone over in 4 straight games. Giants 3-1-1 to the over in the last 5. Both offenses are top 10 in red zone efficiency, which is obviously huge, and both defenses outside the top 15 in red zone efficiency. 2 bottom 10 offenses in the league. So I think there could be some points scored in this one.
Definitely agree with you on the over. I bet that as well. I'm kind of going the other way on the spread. I'm waiting to see if we can get a 3. There's actually 3.5, 4s, and 4.5s on the board in this game. So quite a wide range right now. It's hard to see where the market's going. But I think if I got Vikings -3 or maybe just look at a money line, I'd probably take them. I just think they're the more talented team. I think it's a tougher spot for the Giants on the road on a short week in Minnesota. I know they won the game last week, but they only put up 288 total yards of offense. They scored a touchdown on a Kayvon Thibodeau strip sack.
It's not really a short week. I mean, it is, but it's like Saturday. It's not like a Thursday game.
Okay, yeah, they have one less day to. I mean, they played Sunday night. The Vikings played like Saturday afternoon. Yeah,
yeah, I guess
they're on the road. It's technically a short week. Yeah, it's not a Thursday game, but one team has a rest advantage, the other one doesn't. And I just don't see how they're going to be able to cover Justin Jefferson here. Absolutely love him over 91.5 receiving yards. The target volume is insane. The Giants secondary has nobody that can cover him, and he's going to lead the league in receiving yards. Just in case you didn't know.
Okay.
Any prop looks for you in this one?
Yeah, actually, I just saw Saquon posted at 75.5 rush yards. Like I said, he's just going to be the engine for this offense. And he had, let me pull up his game log here, what he had last week, 85 yards. Yeah, 18 carries for 87 yards. Vikings, is, like we know, is a very beatable defense through the air and on the ground. So if we're getting 18 or 15 plus carries for Saquon here, I like him to break one and hit the over.
Concern you the 4 weeks before that? He didn't even come close to this number.
No, I mean, played the Eagles. He only had 9 carries, couldn't really get going. They're solid overall defense. Then played Washington, who's a top 5 run defense. Dallas, again, another good defense. Detroit, yes, a little concerning. And then he had the massive game against Houston. So I don't know. I think when the volume's there against the bad defense for a talented player like this, I'm going to take the over.
Okay. I don't mind it. All right. Ready to move on?
Yep.
All right, next game up here, we have a very interesting game with the New Orleans Saints and the Cleveland Browns. The Browns are 2.5 to 3 point home favorites. The over-under is a very low, 32.5 here. The weather is going to be mid-teens, about 15 degrees, some snow, 25-mile-an-hour sustained winds with gusts up to 45 miles per hour. So throwing the ball at all is going to be challenging, if not impossible here, if the weather holds. Couple injuries on both sides. Marshawn Lattimore, Pete Werner, PJ Williams, all questionable for the Saints. And then Chris Olave actually popped up on the injury report, did not practice Tuesday or Wednesday. So that's something to keep an eye out for. And then for the Browns, a late add to their injury report as well. Nick Chubb popped up with a foot injury. He hasn't practiced all week. It sounded initially like it was just precautionary, but the fact that he didn't practice today for a game on Saturday makes it a little bit concerning. So definitely something to monitor. Do you have a game here with this insanely low total? Would you take the points with the Saints? Would you tease them, or is this Browns for you?
Yeah, so definitely fine with the Saints and teasers, and I'll actually play their money line. I'll play the points as well. That's if I'm gonna wait to see if this 50-mile-per-hour wind again. I'm gonna wait to see if this weather lives up to the hype. I don't just want to blindly play these weather games early.
Yeah, we're still 3 days out.
Yeah, exactly. So, but look, I know. Well, the Chubb injuries definitely puts kind of a wrench in the whole thing, but I know the easy thing to say would be if this 50-mile-per-hour wind, this is a game that's going to favor the Browns because they're just going to hand the ball to Chubb. But I think you can make the case for the Saints here. The Browns are 30th in DVOA against the rush, 30th in adjusted line yards. I think it's a game where we could see a ton of Taysom Hill packages. At least we should. Now, are the Saints smart enough to do that?
That's another question.
I hope so. That me as just a casual person sitting at home can see this and be like, oh my God, Taysom Hill should get 10+ carries in this game. I don't know if it'll happen.
Taysom Hill should take every snap under center. In this
exactly. Game. So maybe it's a live bet situation. You want to see if the Saints are smart enough to do that, but I'm fine going into this game. I think this ends up being a coin flip type of game. Again, Deshaun Watson's look terrible. If they're even going to be able to pass in this game, I still have no faith in him. I don't even consider it a quarterback advantage for the Browns here. But with how bad the Browns' rush defense is, I just don't think it's going to be. This is a game where you can say, oh, the Browns can hand it to Chubb 25 times. They're going to win the game, because I think that advantage on the ground could go either way. So I'll take the points with the Saints here and absolutely fine teasing them with a 31-point total.
Yeah, teasers is hard to argue against. I did bet the Browns here on Sunday night. I bet them on the money line. I think I got like -145, -150. I think I've changed a little bit on this game throughout the week. At the time, I kind of knew that the weather wasn't going to be great, but I didn't know it was going to be to this level. Obviously, Sunday night, you don't have a great forecast then. And kind of like you said, the more I've thought about the game, if the conditions are going to be this bad, I think it really favors the Saints more than it does the Browns. I kind of like the Browns because I thought that they would have more of a passing game. They're going to be at home. It's going to be a cold game. So I thought the spot was good for the Browns. But if it is going to be to the point where it's literally just like an Army-Navy game where you're just running the ball 55 times and there's 11 guys in the box, like I feel like that's a game where you basically just like throw your hands up and either team could win. So I probably wouldn't bet the Browns anymore if I didn't already have them, but I have them, so I'm going to ride them out. If you want to take the Saints in the teaser, I think that's a good spot because it's pretty hard to imagine either team winning by double digits if the total is going to be in the low 30s. Especially if Chubb doesn't play, that's just a massive loss for the Browns. Yeah. So like Kareem Hunt's fine, but I don't think you want to give Kareem Hunt 35 carries in this game. So that would be a tough loss.
Yeah, for sure.
Props in this game, we do have a couple of them. Alvin Kamara rush yard seemed a little bit low to me, especially if the conditions do hold. He was at like 65.5. Hasn't had a great year, but last week he got 19 carries. I think he put up over 90 yards against the Falcons defense. So if the weather conditions do hold, he's going to get 20+ carries. And we've already kind of touched on how bad the Browns run defense is. And then kind of taking a similar approach if they do post Nick Chubb or Taysom Hill, definitely look at their rush yards over. That was the one thing that stuck out to me. Did you have any prop looks?
Yeah, and the quarterback unders, they're only lined in the 150s, but still, if this...
Oh, we do have props for the quarterbacks.
Yeah, so 155.5 for Watson, 152.5 for Dalton. So, again, but this is just to keep reiterating, this is dependent on the weather. It's their low totals, but 50-mile-per-hour wind that's all 5-yard passes, 7-yard passes. So, not going to be much through the air there. So just keep an eye on that. I agree. Could be an opportunity for some points bets too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, keep an eye on it as we get closer to the game and get a more definitive weather forecast. All right, let's move along here to the Detroit Lions against the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers are 2.5-point home underdogs. The over-under is 43.5. Weather not terrible in this game, going to be pretty cold in the low 30s, but not seeing a ton of wind or any precipitation in the forecast. So certainly not as bad as the majority of the games in the Northeast here. Deshaun Elliott, Frank Ragnow, Taylor Decker, all questionable on the Lions injury report. And then star cornerback J.C. Horn popped up for the Panthers this week. He's also listed as questionable. So we'll see if he goes here or not. I think everyone pretty much knows where I'm going on this game so far. Do you have a play on this one? Are you joining me on the Lions, or are you back in Sam Darnold and the Panthers?
Yeah, I'm joining you on the Lions.
Let's go.
Like, as much as I hate to give this team credit, now I'm giving the team credit. I'm not giving Dan Campbell.
Don't want to get it twisted.
don't want to do that. I just don't think the market's adjusted. Over the last 5 weeks of the season, the Lions are the number 2 overall team in DVOA. The Panthers are 20th. Yes. And I just think we've kind of seen complete efforts and wins from the Lions on both sides of the ball. Like they've won in different ways. They've won with their defense. They won with their passing game, with their running game. So, they just kind of keep building steam. And last week we finally saw the Panthers, like you said earlier, what happens when you can shut down the run game. Now the Lions haven't had They haven't had a consistent run defense.
It's been pretty good the last few weeks, though.
Yeah, but exactly. It's been better over the last few weeks. So, I don't expect it to be another 1.3 yards per carry outing for the Panthers. But if the Lions score some points here and put some pressure on the Panthers to throw the ball, then it's going to be Sam Darnold dropping back 25 times. And anytime you get that, I'm willing to lay under a field goal here with a team I think is much better. And the Panthers, I feel like some of the podcasts I listen to, so people give this Panthers team the defense a lot of credit. And they've really been hot and cold in the season. They're just 19th overall.
They're a decent defense. They're fine.
They're decent, but it feels like when they're bad, they're really bad. And then they have a few games that they're really good. That kind of makes their overall numbers look better. So I just feel like we've seen the Lions consistently light up these below average defenses to average defenses. So I don't expect anything different in this one. I expect the Lions to put up some points here. Put some pressure on the Panthers, and field goal or lower, I'll take the Lions.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I think this Lions offense is too talented to not be able to put up points. I think they have some upside too. I mean, we're just seeing Jameson Williams really get ramped up to full speed here. You saw him; he had his defender beat by 3 steps on a deep bomb last week, and Goff just underthrew him. I think he gives their offense an even bigger element with speed and downfield passing threats. And like we kind of said, if the Panthers offense can't get it going on the ground, like they're just not a good team. 16 for 21 on the ground versus Steelers last week, only scored 16 points. And just to harp on the Lions run defense the past few weeks, the Jets had 22 carries for 50 yards. The Vikings the week before with Dalvin Cook, 17 carries for 22 yards. And then the Jags totaled 15 for 63. If the Panthers can't get it going on the ground, I don't see how they're scoring more than 17 points. And conversely, I don't see how the Lions offense isn't scoring at least in the low 20s here. So to me, this is just absolutely crazy, this number. I think it should be Lions 3.5. And give me the Lions -2.5.
Is Aiden Hutchinson playing this week? I don't think he played last week.
No, I don't think he's played for like 4 weeks now. He should probably show up for one of these games. That'd be great.
That's what I thought.
The Defensive Rookie of the Year award is right there for the taking if you just show up a couple times. My God. Team success is there. Everything's happening for him. He just doesn't do anything.
I put all my eggs in his basket for this award too. Like I haven't put anything on Sauce Gardner. Well, it's too late now because the odds are out of whack. But I just put all my eggs, especially with the 2 interceptions. Like, come on, man, just get a few sacks.
Unbelievable. Prop looks for you in this one. Back to Amon-Ra reception.
Yeah. I mean, you just got to keep playing. If we keep getting a 6.5, it's just an auto play every single week, regardless of the matchup.
Yeah, I think the matchup's pretty good. I mean, he shouldn't see any of the Panthers outside cornerbacks. He'll be mostly in the slot. So over 6.5 receptions. Boom.
Yeah, and that's one I'll even mind laying some juice with. It doesn't have to be -115. Like I'll lay like a
last week the odds were good, but I'd go up to like -140.
Yeah.
All right, moving right along here to the Cincinnati Bengals and the New England Patriots. The Patriots have been getting bet this week. They are down to a 3-point home underdog from 3.5 earlier. The over-under is 41.5. Weather's going to be in the mid-20s, 10 to 15 mile an hour winds. So not great, but not terrible for the passing game or anything like that. Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard, 2 defensive ends for the Bengals, both going to be questionable. And then for the Patriots, Damian Harris, Devontae Parker, Jacoby Myers, and Ramondre Stevenson, all questionable. I don't know if this is one that we bet on the Lookaheads or not. I feel like we touched on it.
I think maybe we didn't bet it. Yeah, I ended up betting, but I don't know if we officially bet it on the podcast.
Okay, I bet it as well, and I bet it again on the opener. Bengals -3 here. This just feels like the exact same game that we bet last week with the Bengals laying 3 against Tampa. The Bucs and the Patriots are incredibly similar teams right now, and it's a pretty similar handicap. Two teams headed in opposite directions. The Bengals just continue to win and cover every single game. I don't think they're getting a ton of respect in the market. And the Patriots offense, anytime they've gone up against a defense with a pulse, they can't score. 10 points versus the Bills, 10 points versus the Jets, 22 versus the Jets the second time, but I think that was aided by some defensive touchdowns. And we saw the Patriots kind of just get their souls absolutely crushed last week. Maybe they bounce back. Maybe they just kind of roll over and die after that. I don't really know how you come back from that, but either way, I just think the Bengals are the better team all over the field here. So I was shocked that this one went up to 3.5 and came back down to 3.
Yeah, I don't get it either. And that ending of that game to me, like you said, their souls were crushed. It was the nail in the coffin. You've seen Mac Jones come off the field all season yelling and frustrated.
Yeah.
And last week, all he did was go 13 of 31 for 112 yards. I think he had 60 yards midway through the fourth quarter. Their playoff hopes are severely diminished with their remaining schedule. Bengals, I think it was Bengals, Bills, Dolphins,
brutal.
or Bengals, Dolphins, Bills, or something, whatever the order is. But
yeah,
and you said their offense can't put up points. I've been preaching all season that this defense is overrated, and I don't see the Bengals having too many issues getting to like 24 or 27 points here, which to me is enough to cover a 3-point spread in this matchup. And the Bengals aren't great against the run, but they're good enough to, I think, not let Ramondre basically carry the entire offense like he did last week. And if the Bengals go up a few scores, they're not going to be like the Raiders and just self-implode and just run the ball to the detriment of the entire team. So yeah, this is just all Bengals for me. I don't understand the line. I don't understand the money coming in on the Patriots. It just feels like at this point, it's just blindly backing Bill Belichick, expecting him to right the ship. But if you're pouring this money on the Patriots, it just feels like you haven't watched them play all year.
Yeah, Bill Belichick has been a great coach for a long time. He might not be a great coach anymore. I mean, if you've watched this team, nothing about this team looks like a well-coached team from any side of the ball.
Yeah, and I feel like even the breakdowns in special teams are where it's like, this is not a Bill Belichick team.
Yeah, it's like, what? Who is this team? Like, there's making mental. I mean, even the last play of the game, like a Bill Belichick coach team did that. Like, are you kidding me?
Crazy. Just take a knee. What are you even handing the ball off? I don't like. We all want to blame Jacoby Myers, which it was a stupid play, but just take a knee.
Ramondre Stevenson threw him the ball with like 8 guys around. He screwed him over, just tossing him the ball in the first place. I mean,
like as stupid as it sounds, Jacoby's like the third person I would blame on that play. Or
blame a lot of people on that play. I don't know what the heck they were doing. All right. Any prop looks for you in this one? I probably don't have anything. Maybe we'll see where the Bengals receivers yards come out. But if the weather is going to be impacting a little bit, maybe it's not a great play. I don't know. Probably a pass for me. And I don't really ever bet props on the Patriots.
Yeah, I got nothing in this game.
All right, move right along here to the Bills and the Bears. The Bears are 8.5-point home dogs in Chicago. The over-under is 40.5. Temperature is going to be freezing in this one. A real feel of about -10 degrees with 20 to 25 mile an hour winds. So the passing game is going to be impacted here. A ton of injuries on both sides. Jordan Poyer, Matt Milano, Roger Saffold, all on the injury report for the Bills. And then for the Bears, Chase Claypool, Equanimous St. Brown, both missing practice. Probably not going to play. Cornerback Kindle Vildor, questionable. And then they are supposed to get Khalil Herbert back in the backfield, which might help in a game where they're probably going to run the ball 40 times. I don't have a ton to say on this one. I think the Bills are fine in a teaser if you can get them at 8.5. I think they're very likely to win the game, but I have zero interest in laying this many points with the Bills, especially in a game where the passing game might be impacted, and we know the Bears already want to run the ball, so that kind of plays into their hands a little bit. So maybe it even helps them. Do you have a play on the side or total?
Yeah, so I did tease the Bills, and I was hoping, or there was like 9.5s earlier in the week. I was hoping we were going to get 10 with the Bears, but I still might play both sides of this one actually and take the Bears. To me, it's what the Bears have done. They've been competitive, but they haven't won games, and like they've just found a way to keep these games close. And the Bills have not been routinely blowing teams out like we've seen in the past. They
blown out anybody.
They started off the year with a blowout wins against the Rams and Titans, and since then it just really hasn't been the case. Fields is just so dynamic that this team's never out of games. We're just like waiting for a team to have an answer for Fields, and apparently there just isn't one. And we've seen Buffalo be susceptible on the ground in numerous games this season, including last week, which is a huge benefit to Chicago. You already mentioned Khalil Herbert maybe coming back, but between that duo in the backfield and Justin Fields, I think they can have some success here on the running game. And like Fields, sorry, I messed up my stats here. Bills. Oh, here it is. Bills' first 2 wins. Here we go. Bills' first 2 wins, Rams and Titans. Since then, only 2 wins by double digits. So,
Yeah,
like that's what I'm saying. These games have been close. Even last week, Miami didn't look great. It was, but somehow they stuck around that game, 3-point game. So
they
Fields
also ran
last
the
week.
ball right down their throat the whole game. I mean,
That's
every
what I
time
mean.
Raheem
Like,
Mostert touched the ball, he went for like 10 yards.
and the Packers too. The Packers ran the ball. They were, I think, 10.5-point underdogs. They ran the ball to stay in the game as well. So, yeah. So this is Bears are passed on the spread, like you said. Fine with the Bills and teaser if you get the 8.5 down to 2.5. Nothing on the total. The total dropped 5 points throughout the week, 45.5 to 40.5.
I think it was even in like the high 30s earlier today. Then it got bet back up. So, but I mean, I guess that's just kind of so dependent on the weather. And I mean, I was initially looking at the over, but I don't know if I can do it if they're not going to be able to throw the ball.
Yeah.
Props. Would we go to Justin Fields rushing yards, rushing attempts again?
Yeah, I feel like we said last week, it's not a prop you can blindly bet anymore in the rushing yard category. He was out 68.5 last week, I think, but apparently it is. You just bet the over and he's going to break a long run at some point. So, yeah, I mean, what's the cutoff point realistically?
74.5.
Yeah. And what about Josh Allen rush yards? Did you play him in the low 40s? He's usually lined in the low 40s.
I don't know. I feel like he's weird. I got burned by him once or twice this year where like I was really confident.
It's very up and
run.
down.
Yeah. It's like, so if he decides he's going to run, he'll just like truck everyone and go for like 90 yards. But then there's other games where he has like 3 or 4 attempts and so I don't know. Yeah. I probably wouldn't touch that one. But yeah, I think Fields.
He's had 10 carries, the 3 of the last 4 games. So
the one game he didn't was the game that I bet a ton of money on
against the Patriots.
Yes.
That was carries, 20 yards.
Yeah. Yeah, because 5 of those were like kneel downs.
Yeah.
And the other thing I heard, Fields in his press conference, I think it was Monday or whatever, he actually noted that he was like kind of like keeping track of Lamar's single season quarterback rushing record. Like someone asked him about it and he was like, yeah, I'm like 206 yards away. I have 3 games left. It's about 70 whatever yards per game. Like he was on top of it. Like he knew it was going on.
That's good to know.
So he basically said he's gunning for it. So like he knows what's up. So
this is the time of year you can start betting on that stuff. In week 18 when we get the contract incentives and all that stuff. So
I'm already looking forward to betting Mike Evans over like 250 receiving yards so we can get to 1,000 for like the 15th year in a row, because that happens like every year, I feel like.
Seems pretty impossible with the way he's playing right now. So
he's going to need to go on a bit of a run here, but
yeah,
we'll find a way. All right, ready to move on?
Yeah.
The game with some very interesting line movement and quarterback news here. The Houston Texans taking on the Tennessee Titans. The Titans opened as 7-point favorites. They are now down to a -3 on most books. The over-under has plummeted to 35.5, and that is because Ryan Tannehill somehow came back in the game last week, and now he's going to be out for the season likely. So it's going to be rookie quarterback Malik Willis. The weather here, 18 degrees with some light wind in Tennessee. Ton of injury notes on both sides. Caleb Farley and Elijah Molden, both questionable or both out for the Titans. Treylon Burks, Jeffrey Simmons, Amani Hooker, Christian Fulton, and D'Amico Autry all questionable. And then for the Texans, not much better. Derek Stingley and Damian Pierce out. Nico Collins, Brandon Cooks, Chris Moore, and Laramie Tunsil all questionable. I don't know who that left is playing in this game, but what do you have here? I guess it's just going to be Derrick Henry versus a collection of guys on the Texans defense. What do you have, Texans or Titans?
Yeah, I love the Titans. We've seen this story already this season. Tannehill
went well for us.
Yeah, Tannehill gets ruled out. Everyone overreacts, and the line gets bet down, and we take the Titans, and they cover easily. As weird as it is to say, it feels like a sell high spot on the Texans, even though they've lost 9 straight games.
Imagine that.
They were competitive in the last few games. Well, they were outgained 502 to 219 last week, so they just got some very beneficial turnovers that really played into that game staying close. And the Titans won this first matchup 17 to 10. 17 to 10. But the Texans scored with 21 seconds left to even bring it that close. So it was a pretty convincing win, easy cover by the Titans. And as he always does, Derrick Henry's just going to torch this Texans defense. Over 200 yards in 4 straight games against them. I can't think of a team less motivated to tackle Derrick Henry in 6-degree weather than this Texans defense. It's just going to be all Derrick Henry here. I don't know that you could set a line high enough for me.
Yeah, I am. I'm totally with you there. I bet the Titans at -3. Like I'm on the money line as well. I was also looking at the Texans team total under. I think it's at 16.5 right now. Like I know the Titans defense is banged up, but the options for the Texans moving the ball right now are to run it on the ground with a combination of Royce Freeman and Rex Burkhead against a really good Titans run defense, or try and throw the ball through like snow, freezing cold wind with Davis Mills and a collection of practice squad wide receivers. Like, I don't understand how they're scoring 16 points here.
Yeah, I don't hate it. And I guarantee you someone in the Texans organization has said this week, man, I wish we didn't let go of Marlon Mack. And if that's the case, that just shows you how much disarray this team is in, because those words have never been said in the history of football.
Then they never should be said again. But the Texans may be saying that this week. Prop looks, is there a line that you wouldn't bet Derrick Henry at? Would it have to start with a 2 for you to take the under?
Even then, over 200 yards in 4 straight games. Like, what is this? Is just a game. You take the alt lines, take his over, take the alt lines like 150. What, I don't even know how high the alt lines go. It might cap off at 150, but
I don't even think they would offer you anything more than that because they're terrified.
It's probably going to be the most bet prop this week. So but no reason not to take it.
Yes. That'll be the only prop for me this week.
Yeah, maybe a Rex Burkhead under, just because if it's there, I feel like
just for old time's sake.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what the line is. I feel like there's automatically value on it if there's a line for Rex Burkhead.
The name says Rex Burkhead next to the prop. There's got to be value on the under.
I just can't believe that guy's an NFL player. I'll never get over it.
And he plays too. I mean, he gets the ball.
Exactly. That's the problem. Like, I don't get it.
Love it. Need more Rex Burkhead. All right, let's move along here to the Seattle Seahawks and the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs are 10-point home favorites in Arrowhead. The over-under is 48.5. Freezing cold weather here, going to be around 2 degrees, but not a ton of wind, so shouldn't really impact the total or anything. Big loss for the Seahawks, going to be without wide receiver Tyler Lockett. Noah Fant is questionable, and then for the Chiefs, Chris Jones questionable, and Mecole Hardman should be back here. Did we talk about the total on the look-aheads last week? I think we did, about the over.
Yep.
All right, so we both bet the over. Do you have a play on the side, and do you have any notes to add to the over?
I took the Seahawks at 10. This, to me, it's just a complete fade of the Chiefs defense. They're 24th in DVOA. Seattle's 25th for what it's worth. That helps with the over, obviously. Seattle just hasn't had any issues putting up points against these bottom tier defenses. 24, 27, and 34 points prior to the San Francisco game against Carolina, Vegas, and the Rams. So those are all average to below average defenses that they had no problem putting up points against. We know the Chiefs should have their way with the Seattle defense, and I just think Seattle can hang around and put up enough points here, and you're maybe one KC turnover like we saw last week from being in prime position to cover this number. At the very least, you should have an opportunity for Geno Smith to backdoor cover this at the end of the game with against a weak Chiefs defense. So, love the Seahawks at 10 or better and over 48.5.
Yeah, agree with everything you said. It's hard to not imagine the Chiefs offense scoring 27 to 30 points here. Like, I don't see how the Seahawks are going to be able to stop them, but Geno Smith in comeback mode against a pretty vulnerable Chiefs secondary, like that's a spot that I love Geno in. I think he can have some success here even without Lockett. I think Metcalf and Kenneth Walker will be there. I think that's enough. And the Chiefs as big favorites so far have been absolutely terrible this year. As a touchdown or more favorite, they are 1-5 against the spread, with their only win being covering 9.5 against the Jags when they won by exactly 10. I believe that was our debate of the week last week, and I lost that game. So it was the only time.
Week, but yeah.
Oh yeah, a couple weeks ago. Yeah, that was the only time they've covered a double or a 7 or more point spread this entire year. And the Seahawks have now played 5 straight games with a final point margin of 6 points or less. So that just kind of speaks to they're kind of always playing close games because they have a.
Didn't they lose by 8 last week?
I thought it was 6. Maybe it was 8. Maybe it was 8 points or less instead of 6 points or less. I may have confused my numbers there.
All right, we're even now. We both messed up a stat this time.
Okay.
21-13 at San Francisco. Sorry.
Okay.
All
8
good.
points or less.
We get the point. That'll still cover a 10 point spread.
They lose by 8, they cover the spread. We're good.
That's fine.
Prop looks for you in this one.
Yeah, I saw Isaiah Pacheco at 68.5 yards. Weak Seattle run defense, as we know. He's gone over that line in 5 out of the last 6 games. So fire it back up. He should see 15 plus carries again in this matchup.
Love it. I'm on the same prop as well. And then DK Metcalf, I think his yards opened in like the mid 70s. I think I might look at receptions instead. He's been getting some targets the last 4 weeks, 15, 8, 10, 9 targets, kind of been in between 5 and 11 catches over those games. Should see a little bit of a tick up with Tyler Lockett. I don't mind the yards if you want to go that route, but I think if we get a 5.5 reception line, I'll like that a little bit more. The Chiefs are dead last in DVOA to opposing wide receiver ones, and Kenneth Walker has not been superb on the ground. So I think the Seahawks are going to be airing it out here quite a bit.
I think they'll be able to get a little bit of a running game going here. We'll see, though.
I would hope so. I mean, for the Seahawks plus 10, I would like for them to be able to get it going on the ground a little bit. Walker has really not been effective for a couple weeks in a row now.
Yeah.
He might also not be fully healthy, which doesn't help. I mean,
yeah, he's definitely boom or bust.
Yeah. Maybe we can get a boom run this week.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to our next game here. The Atlanta Falcons taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens are laying 7.5 points in Baltimore. The over-under, holy crap, it's dropping hard. 35.5. This is down 5 points from the opener. The weather here going to be 20 degrees, 10 to 15 mile an hour winds. Marcus Peters, Devin Duvernay, both out for the Ravens. So another hit to their already anemic passing game. And then Lamar Jackson hasn't practiced this week, questionable, probably trending towards not playing another week. And Calais Campbell, questionable on this Ravens defensive line. Do you have a play here, Falcons versus Ravens?
Yeah, so I'll be on the Falcons. I'm operating under the standpoint of Lamar not playing. He hasn't practiced all week, like you said, so I'm assuming he's not playing. And it just has to be a play on the Falcons. One, again, we have a 35.5 point total here. You're getting over a touchdown. And simply, I don't think the Ravens can score enough points with Tyler Huntley at quarterback to cover this. 16 and 3 points in his 2 starts this season. 10 points in the game where Lamar got hurt early on. He played a majority of the game. Last year, he started 5 games. They only scored 20 points in 2 of those games. And to me, that's all it is. I don't think the Ravens, even against this inferior Falcons defense, we saw the Ravens going against the Browns, who's a bottom 10 defense last week, and they really couldn't get anything going. I know they had a couple missed field goals, but still that only gets them to 9 points last week. So to me, this is like a 14-7 or 13-6 type of game, or right, maybe flirting with the 7 points. But
would you bet the under?
Honestly, yeah, I probably would. Oh, well, okay. Well, now I wouldn't because it's just dropped. You missed the number at this point. It's dropped 2 or 3 points.
Did you bet the under when it was 40.5?
I didn't know, but wait, did I? I may have.
I texted you about it. And you said like no for some dumb reason, and I was dropped 5 points. It was.
I think it was because at that point it was still up in the air if Lamar was coming back. So I just wasn't.
What's Lamar going to score? 14 points? Oh no! Now it's going to go over.
Yeah, but. So would I lean the under at this point? Yes. I'm not going to bet it because it's dropped 5 points throughout the week, but should be an ugly low-scoring game. So I'll take the 7.5 points.
Okay, I'll see if I can sell you on a variation of the under here in a second. But the question that everybody needs to know, are the Ravens a good teaser leg this week?
I would not tease them. I don't
really. You wouldn't?
If it's Huntley, if it was
come on.
If it was Lamar, I'd immediately, I'd tease them. But
I'm teasing them with Huntley.
I don't know how you can trust Huntley. I don't know how you can do it.
It's more the defense. Huntley hasn't been great. I'll get into it in a second.
The defense is susceptible to like 1 or 2 big plays. Like it can happen.
Not against Desmond Ridder there. No.
It can happen against the running game. You have Patterson or Algier look great last week. The defense is not.
They look great against a Saints defense that can't stop the run playing in a dome. Of course they looked okay. Give me a
Last time I teased the Ravens, I had them -2 and they win by 1. They just can't be trusted. Somehow, if you tease them down to a half a point, it'll end in a tie and they won't cover the teaser. That's just how the Ravens do it. I'm not teasing the Ravens anymore.
All right, this one for me is pretty simple. I am betting the Ravens and teasers, but my favorite look here is the Falcons team total under. I think you can still get under 15. It's been dropping all day. I think I got it 16.5, but as long as you're over 14, I still think it's pretty good. This is Desmond Ridder's second career start. He's on the road against a very good Ravens defense with weather concerns. The Falcons just played the Saints in a dome. Like I just said, they don't rank good against the run, so they were able to run for 231 yards on the ground. I don't see that performance repeating. They only had 97 passing yards in the game. The Ravens defense is number 6 over the run, and over the last 6 weeks, they have allowed one team to score more than 14 points, and that was the Jacksonville Jaguars, who scored 28. The Falcons offense is in the same class of the Saints that scored 13 points. The Broncos scored 9 against this Ravens defense. The Browns scored 13. So I just really think that they struggle to get to double digits. And on the other side of the ball, I know the Ravens offense has been brutal. They can't convert in the red zone. They're barely putting up any points, but I think part of this is just honestly variance and bad luck. I think I saw a stat on the all right, calm down. I think I saw a stat on the broadcast last week that they're like the first team in NFL history to run for, I think they ran for 198 yards last week and didn't score a single touchdown. That was the first time in NFL history that had happened. And against the Pittsburgh Steelers the week before, they ran for, what was it, 215 yards, and they only scored 16 points. Like, if they're running for 200 yards again against a terrible Falcons defense, I think they're going to start scoring some touchdowns here, and all these drives aren't going to end in stupid field goal attempts or missed fourth down conversions that they never seem to convert. So I think this is a little bit of bad variance, and if they keep getting all these yards on the ground, it's going to turn into points eventually.
It's not bad variance. It's a trend. It's Tyler Huntley's not a good quarterback, and
that he doesn't even have to be that good.
Lamar
if you run
Jackson,
for 230 yards, you're going to score.
Clearly he does. I don't disagree with the team total under for the Falcons. I think the Falcons can go under 15.5 and they still cover a 7.5 point spread.
They could. You're right. I agree.
Yeah. So,
but I also think the Ravens could score 3 touchdowns here and basically play the exact same they did the past few weeks, just have a little bit better conversion percentage in the red zone. And I think they could do that. Like, they play the same game.
Touchdowns. They score 3 touchdowns. They win 21-14. I cover the spread. You cover the Falcons team total under. We're all happy.
And the game total goes under 40
and the game total goes under 40.5.
All right. I'll sign up for that right now.
We just planned out the game script.
Perfect. Make it happen, guys. Prop looks for you in this one. I have a couple.
I don't have anything in this one.
All right. Drake London over receptions. Going to be very excited to see where this one. No, they are not posted yet. These are all speculative. I'm hoping for a 3.5 line. If it was 4.5, I'd need plus money, but I'm thinking we're probably going to get a pretty discounted line here just because London was basically not involved in the offense for the first 14 weeks of the season. Desmond Ridder absolutely sucked last week, but if there was one thing he showed, it was a propensity to throw the ball to Drake London at all costs. 11 targets on 23 passing attempts for a 47% target share, turned it into 7 catches for 70 yards. If he's going to get a 50% target share and his reception line is going to be 3.5 or 4.5, I have to play the over there. And then J.K. Dobbins, definitely going to be interested in his rushing yards. I don't know how the heck he's doing it. He has 0 top end speed. He looks like he's running on a peg leg on some of these breakaway runs, but the results speak for themselves. 15 carries for 120 yards, 13 for 125 in his 2 starts coming off IR against the Falcons run defense. It's terrible in bad weather in Baltimore at home as a favorite. I mean, what else do you want? Come on.
Fair enough.
Peg leg and all. He's getting 100 yards again here.
Yeah. You already know what I'm going to say about the Ridder play, though.
I didn't bet on Desmond Ridder.
Or, sorry, the London play.
11 targets? What are you going to do with that?
They're going to throw the ball 20 to 25 times.
And if he gets half of those targets, he's going over his reception line.
Is he, though? Because Ridder only had 13 completions last week.
And 7 of them were to Drake London, and his line was 3.5. He doubled it.
All right, in one game. In one game. You don't have no sample size with Ridder at quarterback.
Exactly. So this is 100% of the sample size. This means everything.
All right.
No, look, I agree. It's not one that you want to like hammer home and like it's definitely going to hit. It's small sample size, but I think it's trending up and you want to take advantage before the books adjust it to 5.5 or something.
Yeah. London also might be lined up with Marlon Humphrey, which is a lot better than whoever he had last week. Okay. Just keep speculating.
That's speculation. They're going to throw him screen passes.
Okay.
All right, moving right along here. Washington footballs against the San Francisco 49ers. The Niners are 7. Ooh, did all the 7.5s go off the board here?
That's lame.
Let me see. Yes, all of the 7.5s are officially gone. So this line is a flat 7. The over-under is 37.5. Antonio Gibson, Chase Young, and Cameron Curl questionable for the footballs. And then Eric Armstead questionable for the Niners. Debo Samuel still out. And obviously Brock Purdy still in at quarterback. We are both on the Washington footballs here, as far as I know. Why don't you make the case for the footballs and make sure to state if you would still bet them at 7 or would you need 7.5?
Yeah, so I'd probably still bet them at 7. And this is a game where I actually bet the under as well. So to me, another
what number?
39.5. So it's still.
Would you still take it at 37.5?
Not as excited.
Come on, you got us all excited.
So, I'd still lean the under, but so again, you have another game in the mid 30s possibly that you're getting over a touchdown. Washington's last 4 games ended with totals of 32, 40, 32, and 33. San Francisco hasn't allowed more than 17 points in 7 straight weeks now.
Wow,
and
that's
I think
crazy.
And I think defensively, Washington can do enough to kind of hold the Niners in check. They have a great run defense, ranked 4th in DVOA, 6th in adjusted line yards. And I know it's a bit concerning. Saquon had a decent game against them last week, and CMC is obviously a bit of an upgrade from him. But from a season-long perspective, they've been great against the run. Also 10th in DVOA versus running backs in the passing game, which is obviously a big deal. 49ers lit up Tampa Bay, but they only put up 21 points against a really bad Seattle defense where they were able to pretty much have their way on the ground. So I just think there's a lot of ways this game goes under, and another one that to me is like a 17-14 or 20-14 type of game. So yeah. I just think I think Washington's run defense can force Brock Purdy into some uncomfortable 3rd and long type situations that he hasn't really been in the first couple of games. So, and I do expect the 49ers defense to kind of continue what they've been doing. But it's a game I just like to go under the total, and I think it gives value to the Commanders. So I actually I probably would still play the under 37.5 because when I originally played this, I felt a little bit more strongly about the total going under as opposed to the spread, but I ended up just kind of splitting it between both.
Okay, I think that's fair. Let me see. There's actually a bunch of 38s on the board right now, so you can get a little bit of value there. I don't mind the under here. And I agree with everything you said on the footballs. The only thing I was going to add, look, it is terrifying fading the Niners right now. Like they're just on such an absolute roll. They're not a team you want to step in front of, but I think if there's
it's uncharted waters now that they're laying over a touchdown or more, I should say. You know what I mean? Like it's different than laying 3 points or something against Seattle. Like now we're talking
3.5 against Tampa and Seattle.
Yeah. So we're talking you're crossing 4, you're crossing 6. Now you're at 7. So it's still, Brock Purdy is, like I said, I think he's going to be in some uncomfortable situations here that he hasn't been in the last couple of games.
Yeah, and the only other thing I was going to say is that, the one thing that we know about Taylor Heinicke is that since he took over from Carson Wentz, he can cover spreads and he can keep every game close. They're 6-2 against the spread, and every single one of those 8 games was either a football's outright win or a game that ended with a single-digit loss. So, he knows how to keep games close. They're going to fight till the end. And I have kind of a sneaky feeling that the footballs are live to win this one. Like, I don't know if I'm going to bet the money line, but I would not tease the Niners in this game. I think they could lose the game outright, and I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know that. I agree they're definitely live to win. I definitely wouldn't tease them, but I don't want to sit here and say I think they have a great chance to win. But yeah, I haven't even, for whatever reason, the Niners haven't even been on my radar for teasers.
Yeah, because I was looking to tease the Jags earlier because that one finally hit range. I was just going through the games that were in teaser range, and for me, this one was just a total stay away. So just a note, if you are looking to tease games, I would not do the Niners.
I think I need it's uncomfortable teasing Brock Purdy.
Sure.
Okay.
I don't know if it has anything to do with that. I just think the footballs might win.
For me, it's uncomfortable teasing Brock Purdy. Yeah,
that's fine. I'm fine
against the best
Purdy.
Run defense he's seen so far. They need that running game.
Hopefully, they won't have it this week.
Yeah.
Any prop looks for you in this one?
No.
Brian Robinson's rush yards came out pretty low. It was like 44.5, and Antonio Gibson is on the injury report. If Gibson doesn't play, I know the Niners defense is good, but it's hard to imagine him not getting 15 carries. 15 carries for 45 yards. He can average 3 yards a carry. That seems a little.
I'd rather just take his rush attempts.
Yeah, you could certainly look at that. We don't have a line for that, but yeah, I think last week they were like 12.5 or something. It was something pretty.
I'm not sure what they were last week, but yeah, I feel like it's a safer route because you don't have to count on Brian Robinson to be good at football.
Yes, never want to do that. All right, fair enough. Let's Let's go to a game with quite a bit of spread movement and surprises throughout the week. The premier game of the week, at least it was supposed to be, the Philadelphia Eagles against Dallas Cowboys, battle of the NFC East. The Cowboys are now down to 4.5-point favorites. This one got up to 6.5, came back down. Over under is 47.5. Obviously, the big news here, Jalen Hurts sprained his shoulder. Sounds like he's not going to play, not committed to him not playing. He says he wants to play. Who knows if it's going to be him or Gardner Minshew. Dallas Goedert was activated off IR and will play. And then for the Cowboys, Noah Brown, DeMarcus Lawrence, both questionable, and Leighton Vander Esch out here. A lot of moving parts on this one. What would you do with the current market, and any thoughts or things that you're looking out for if this happens? I would do this, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so I think it's like 95% it's going to be Minshew in this game. I don't see any way Hurts is playing. I don't see any reason for him to play. I have so many positions on this game. I hate every single one of them. So we can just, I've cashed out of positions because I just wanted to ride with my original bets. But anyway, I actually like the Eagles here. I think you wait if you like the Eagles just until the Hurts news becomes official, because it'll probably go back to 5.5. I don't think 6 is going to come back up, maybe, but we'll see.
Get 6.
To me, it's just Dak hasn't looked sharp. Interceptions in 7 out of 9 games this season, multiple interceptions in 4 games, coming off a loss to the Jaguars and barely a win versus the Texans. I also kind of worry about the defense. Now, I know they've been great most of the season, but some of the concerns I had about the defense coming into the season are when they're not creating havoc and generating turnovers, teams can have success moving the ball on them. And you know, the same can kind of be said about the Eagles defense. I actually kind of liked the over before the Hurts news, because the Eagles are kind of the same thing. They live and die on turnovers. What is it now? 46.
I think you can still find a 47. I think I like that over.
Yeah, it's not bad. Like, I just think they're two good defenses because they force turnovers, they get sacks, they get pressure. But when they're not doing that, we've seen teams move the ball on them. And Minshew's one of the better backups in the league. I don't expect this in any way to be a Cowboys runaway game just because Hurts is out. And not to take anything away from Hurts, he's been fantastic. But the Eagles are where they are with the best record in the league because they have a complete roster. They have great players all over the field on both sides of the ball. So this isn't just Hurts goes out and now the team's doomed. So I think the Eagles can compete here. And if you're getting 4 points or better, to me, there's still value on the Eagles, but you just got to wait for it until Hurts is officially ruled out to get the best of the number.
I agree. I bet the over 46.5. I'm waiting. If it is going to be Minshew, obviously if Hurts does end up playing, grab the Eagles if you can over 3. If it is going to be Minshew, I think I'm going to look for 6.5 would be a bet. 6 would probably be a bet, but kind of like you said, one of the best backup quarterbacks in an awesome system with elite weapons behind a great offensive line. I think he can still have success against this Cowboys defense.
Yep.
Prop looks for you in this one?
Nothing yet.
I did see a stat about Dallas Goedert. Apparently, the last time Minshew started, Goedert was like his favorite target. He had 6 catches for 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. Now, we didn't have a big sample size. I think it was only 1 game, and it was against the Jets. Like, that may have just been like a matchup advantage that they found in that game. But maybe see if Goddard's yards opens pretty low. It does seem
his like first game back, too, though.
I know it's not a great spot for it, but I just wanted to note that there was some chemistry and connection there between those two.
Yeah.
I'm going to look at CeeDee Lamb receiving yards for the Cowboys. The Eagles have one of the better cornerback groups, but their strength is really on the outside with Slay and Bradbury. I think they're more susceptible in the slot. CeeDee was 7 for 126 last week. He did have, I think, 68 yards in the first matchup. That was with Cooper Rush at quarterback. So he's been getting some targets from Dak, and we obviously know he has big play ability in the dome at home. Should be a good spot.
Yeah, I like CeeDee Lamb. Maybe my Offensive Player of the Year tickets will get some life.
Maybe it feels like 400 yards.
Just kidding.
All right. Let's go to our next game here. The Las Vegas Raiders against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers are 2.5-point home favorites. Oh, this one's actually come down a little bit. We've seen some Raiders money today. The over-under is at 39 here. Weather, it's going to be freezing cold, around 10 degrees, 10 to 15 mile an hour winds in Pittsburgh. This is basically a loser leave town. I think the loser of this game is officially eliminated from playoff contention in the AFC, and the winner will still be alive but need some help. Rock Yassin, cornerback for the Raiders, is questionable, and Kenny Pickett back at quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, the ever-revolving door of Steelers quarterbacks, and then Terrell Edmonds, Miles Jack, both questionable on the injury report here for the Steelers. I know you have a pretty strong take in this game. What do you like on this one, Raiders versus Steelers, for the AFC playoff picture?
Yeah, I'm riding with the Raiders again. No, I'm just kidding. I'm taking the Steelers.
You scared me. Did you flip-flop in one day?
No, I'm done with the Raiders. I'm taking the Steelers. I think they're just the better team here. They've had a favorable schedule over the last month in terms of the offenses they've played. But the Raiders right now, to me, are just one of the most poorly coached teams in the NFL. And it just feels like they don't make adjustments. They constantly make the same mistakes. They keep just playing conservative every time they get a lead and allow these teams to get back in it. Steelers have been great against the run for most of the season, absolutely dominated the Panthers last week on the ground game, like we said, just allowed 1.3 yards per carry. So I don't think this is a game where the Raiders are gonna be able to just lean on Josh Jacobs. And Carr, even when he looks good, the Raiders just find ways to lose games. So to me, this is just, I want to take advantage of a massive coaching mismatch. And Deontay Johnson actually said after the game last week that these guys are playing hard to keep Mike Tomlin's streak alive of staying above 500, however many seasons that's been. So the team wants to play for this guy. They like Mike Tomlin, and we know he's always going to have his guys motivated. So not a Mike Tomlin underdog spot here, but I'm backing the Steelers at home. Also against, for what it's worth, a dome team playing in freezing cold weather here in Pittsburgh. Obviously, pretty decent spot there. So give me the Steelers.
Okay, so right now the best you can get on the spread is a -2, or you can get the money line at -135. Would you have a preference there if you did like the Steelers?
I'm fine with either. I'd probably just lay the 2 points. I laid 2.5 because it looked like there was threes on the board. So
there was this morning. Yeah, apparently people got some interest in the Raiders today. I think I'm with you here. I'm definitely leaning on the Steelers. My only question is if it makes more sense to just live bet them, because it seems like the Raiders find a way to go up in the first half in every single game and then blow the game in the second half. So, I might bet like a little bit on the Steelers pregame, then see if I can live bet them at plus money or get like a +3.5 or something. But I think you kind of said the matchup makes sense for the Steelers, and just massive coaching advantage, Mike Tomlin against Josh McDaniels. I mean, that can't be stated enough here. So I think the Steelers are the right side and should win this one.
Yep.
Probably no prop looks for me in this one. Najee Harris has been getting a decent amount of carries, looking a little bit better. Maybe I'll see where he's lined up, but probably nothing here. The Raiders offense, I can never really figure out. It might be 35 carries for 28 yards for Josh Jacobs. I don't know.
Yeah, nothing for me.
They don't seem to want to give Devontae Adams the ball for some godforsaken reason. All right, we will go to our first game in the Sunday slate, the Green Bay Packers against the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins are down to 3.5-point home favorites here. The over-under is up to 49.5 here, so big movement on the side end total in this one earlier in the week. A.J. Dillon, questionable in concussion protocol. Sounds like he's going to clear it and should be good for this game. David Bakhtiari, also questionable for the Packers. And then for the Dolphins, running back Jeff Wilson and cornerback Aaron Bro, both on the injury report this week here. So I grabbed the Packers at +6 on the openers. I think you did too. At the current numbers, I don't think I would have a play on this one. I think I made the game Dolphins -3.5. So I think the spread looks fine to me. I think the Packers should probably be able to keep it close, but it's also a shorter week for them. The Dolphins are at home. Their offense has looked a lot better. At least the last week, Tua kind of looked like he found his footing a little bit more than he had in the past and hit Tyreek and Waddle for some longer passes here. So maybe a slight lean to the Dolphins, but I think the value's kind of gone now that the market's moved so much.
Yeah, see, I have a whole case laid out here, but it was for like when the 4.5s or better were out there.
I was surprised they got disappeared this quick.
I grabbed the Packers +6 as well. I think they're live to win this game.
I wouldn't be shocked.
But at 3.5, probably a pass for me. I think Green Bay's starting to get back on track. play. I think they're just playing a little bit more loose than what we saw earlier in the season. They played the Rams and the Bears the last couple of weeks, obviously, but the offense did put up 33 points against the Eagles, coming off 2 wins, regardless of the opponents. It feels like they're just in a better spot than the Dolphins right now, who are starting to spiral a bit, losing 3 straight games. You said Tua looked better, but this was a guy who was
better, not great, but better.
This was a guy who was pegged as the most accurate QB in the league for most of the season. Now, the last 3 weeks, he's completed 56, 35, and 54% of his passes. So they're also coming off 3 straight road games, which obviously not an easy spot here. The defense is coming off 2 games allowing over 400 yards. The Packers finally have Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson healthy, so maybe they can start to build some continuity on offense. Still a little bit of a concern. The Dolphins are just going to be able to run the ball on the Packers like we've seen teams do this year, but the Dolphins haven't really shown consistency in the run game from a week-to-week basis, so I guess it's kind of, wait and see on that, but I like the Packers 4 better, but this is definitely what I'm going to be putting in a money line round robin this week.
For the Packers.
For the Packers, yes.
Okay. I like that. All right, let's talk about the total for a second. I haven't bet this yet, but I'm leaning heavily towards the under 49.5. A little bit of a contrarian under here. Obviously, it's scary betting an under with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle on the field, but I feel like I could see both these teams going pretty run heavy. We know the Packers offense wants to establish the run, get Jones and Dillon going. They play at the 31st pace of play in the league right now, so they want to run the ball. They always take the play clock pretty much down to the wire. And then the Dolphins, I think we kind of said it, they don't always stick to the run, but this Packers defense is definitely a run funnel. They're top 10 against the pass. They're actually down to dead last in DVOA against the run. Maybe Jeff Wilson comes back. They try and get him and Mostert going. And all it really takes when you have a total this high is maybe a little bit of red zone inefficiency, a turnover or 2, or even just a long Packers drive that kills the clock and ends in a field goal here. What do you feel about the under now that it's up to 49.5?
Yeah, I don't hate it. Like you said, like the Packers play the slow pace. And to me, it's like, I know it's week 16. We've seen it all year, but at some point, like the Dolphins aren't going to have a 50-yard or 60-yard touchdown because that's
I can't have one every week.
That's
right?
what I'm saying. The offense just lives or dies almost. So if Tua misses a throw on an open Tyreek Hill play or whatever, then that was their opportunity to score. So I definitely don't hate it.
Okay. Prop looks for you in this one. I don't think I'm going to have anything.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping A.J. Dillon was out so I could play like Aaron Jones total yards or something because if he was on the field all game, he would get a ton of looks. But if A.J. Dillon's in, probably nothing in this one.
I agree with that. All right, let's go to our next game here. The Sunday 4:30 game, Denver Broncos against the LA Rams. What a treat for all of us. The Rams are 2.5-point home underdogs. The over-under is 36. Russell Wilson sounds like he's going to be back for the Broncos. And then Cortland Sutton, KJ Hamler, both questionable in the receiving core. For the Rams, the usual suspects on the injury report, Aaron Donald, questionable. And then they also lost center Brian Allen and wide receiver Ben Skowronek for the rest of the year. So Baker's cast of characters getting even more depleted. Do you have a play here on this wonderful game for us? Broncos,
it's kind of funny to think before the season, if we saw this as a Christmas Day game, we're like, Broncos versus Rams. This is awesome. We get the high-flying Denver Broncos offense versus the defending Super Bowl champs. And here we are with a 35.5-point total. But this one's just a shot in the dark for me here at a low number. I took the over. Usually, and we've seen it this week when we get these low totals in the mid 30s. It's the Thursday night games or it's an outdoor bad weather game. This game's obviously in a dome. 35.5 is not much margin for error. Both these teams played in games last week with totals in the 30s. Broncos game hit the over, getting 39 total points. Rams went under, but they did have 36 total points in the game. So honestly, no major handicap on it other than it's a number that's just pretty low with no weather factors. And for what it's worth, the Rams defense looked pretty bad last week against the Packers, who had no problem moving up and down the field on them.
Yeah, I joined you on the over here. It feels disgusting. Baker Mayfield can barely even pass for 100 yards in a game, and somehow we're betting an over on him. But I took it as well, pretty much for the same reasons you laid out. I keep going back and forth here on the side. Like, on one hand, I'm like, okay, Russell Wilson against a depleted Rams team. I know he's been bad all year.
Brett Ripien, though. Is it going to be?
It sounds like it's very likely going to be Russ. I don't think it's official yet, but I'm assuming it's going to be Russ. Okay. So my brain's going, okay, it's going to be Russ. It's under a field goal. He still has some pride. He's playing hard. Like, they can cover 2.5. But then on the other hand, I'm like, just tease the Rams. Just wait for it to get to 3. Take them with Baker. It's 2 bad teams. It's a low total. Like, do you have anything to say on the side that can?
Well, I'm going to be honest. I've been operating all week as if it was Brett Rippey, and I expected it to be
I'm pretty
him.
sure it's Russell Wilson.
But if it's Russ,
yeah, I mean, how do you not bet the Broncos? But like,
we can't do it. We just can't do it.
Is he really that bad?
Yes, we have 14 weeks of data or whatever many weeks he started.
I feel like I watched too much of the Chiefs game where I saw him throw like 3 passes that look good, and now I'm like, he's not that bad.
I feel like we're both gonna wake up Christmas morning and be like, "Hey, Merry Christmas! You want to bet the Broncos?"
I feel like I might end up betting the Broncos.
Oh man, I think I might too.
Great. This will surely end well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess wait for official confirmation on Russ if you want to bet the Broncos, and if not, Merry Christmas. Yeah. Prop looks for you in this one?
Nothing right now.
I might look at Latavius Murray rush yards.
Maybe if Wilson's in, maybe like a Greg Dulcich play or something.
I'm done with that freaking guy. He sucks. He sucks.
Okay.
Terrible. Absolutely
terrible. Cortland Sutton's out, so they're going to have to throw to someone.
He's questionable. He might play practice today in a limited fashion.
Oh, he practiced. Okay.
As did Hamler. Screw Greg Dulcich. That guy sucks.
All right.
Don't bet him. All right, let's move along. My God, this spread is getting out of control. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the Arizona Cardinals. The Bucs are up to 7.5-point favorites on the road, a total of 39.5. Obviously, the big story, Trace McSorley going to start for the Arizona Cardinals. They also have Byron Murphy questionable and Rondale Moore out. And then the Bucs, Tristan Wirfs, Vita Vea, Carl Nassib, Jamel Dean, and Antoine Winfield all questionable here. This is pretty. I don't know how you could. You can't lay 7.5 points with the Bucs, but you also can't bet on Trace McSorley to do anything. I don't know what you do in this game. Do you have any thoughts on the side or
total? You just tease the Bucs. You missed the number, but
they can't lose this game, right? They can't.
This is my. If you missed, I took Bucs money line when it opened -170, but if you missed it, this is my. I think I did this once last year. This is my guaranteed teaser leg. Tease from 7.5 down to 1.5. Guarantee of the season teaser leg. So just plug it in every single teaser, and you're guaranteed to at least hit that one leg. The Bucs will not lose this game.
As long as you get one leg of the teaser, that's all that matters.
Yeah, exactly. I won't be liable for the other leg. This is my guarantee. Yeah.
That's on you.
Yeah. So the Bucs will not. They're not losing to Trace McSorley. He looked awful last week. The Cardinals' defense is a disaster right now, and there's just nothing to play for. It's bad in Arizona right now. So Bucs need to get, as bad as the Bucs are, they still need to win the division, and they have to build some momentum to head into the playoffs. So the Bucs are still going to be playing hard, and Trace McSorley's not going to be able to get anything going. The Bucs defense still has some self-respect to be able to shut down this offense with Trace McSorley. So, Bucs and all your teasers, you're welcome.
And the Bucs defense played good last week. Like, I know they lost the game and like the scoreboard looked like the Bengals killed them, but like that was
they were putting in impossible situations.
Yeah, like I thought they gave Burrow a really hard time. Like even when the Bengals got the ball in plus territory, they weren't just going down and scoring right away. Like the Bucs defense was playing hard and playing well.
Yeah.
And Trace McSorley, only 39 career pass attempts, has a 46% completion percentage, 1 touchdown pass to 3 interceptions. I had a very long spiel about the under 41.5 and the Cardinals team total under was going to be my favorite bet of the week, but those numbers are now long gone. So probably lean to the under at 39.5, but you kind of missed the boat here now that it's gone under 40.
Yeah.
Prop looks for you in this one.
Maybe Chris Godwin.
Pass for me. Probably I'm going to look at the Bucs running backs. I want to see where Lenny and Rashad are. Look, they're splitting work right now. They haven't been great. Lenny was 10 for 44 last week. Rashad White was 11 for 38. But the Cardinals' run defense is bad. They're 29th in DVOA. They just allowed Latavius Murray to run for 130 yards. If we think the Bucs are going to be playing with a lead, maybe this is finally the week where Tom Brady doesn't attempt 57 passes and they can actually lean on a stable running game. I can see them both getting 13 to 16 carries here against a bad run defense.
I hope you're right. So I have to play Rashad White in my fantasy semifinal game.
Rashad White's like 48.5. You betting the over?
Probably.
Okay.
Because it feels like when Tampa Bay can run the ball, they do commit to it. So if they have,
they want to be able to run the ball.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, like this is the matchup where they can have some success doing it.
Yeah. All right.
All right, let's cap it off with Monday Night Football here. The LA Chargers taking on the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts are 4.5-point home dogs. The over-under is 45.5. Come down with the quarterback news here. Derwin James and Joey Bosa, both questionable for the Chargers. Jonathan Taylor out for the rest of the year for the Colts. And then Kenny Moore questionable. And Matt Ryan somehow benched again this year, not for Sam Ehlinger, but for Nick Foles, who saw that one coming. I bet the Colts at plus 4.5 here. I think there's actually some 5.5s on the board. This was before the Nick Foles news, so I had no idea. But really, this is just a combination of fading the Chargers as a favorite in a game they're supposed to win, and the number just being a little bit too high, in my opinion. I thought Chargers 3, maybe 3.5 was right here. We've just seen so many times in the Justin Herbert, Brandon Staley era where they should be able to win a game pretty easily, and they end up either eking out a very close win or end up losing the game outright. We just saw it last week against the Titans. They didn't. Well, I think they actually pushed on the 3, but it was a pretty ugly game that they should have won by a lot more. And I just can't lay points with this Chargers team here. So that was my look. I don't feel as good about it now with Nick Foles, just with it being a total unknown. Not that Matt Ryan was good, but he was at least stable. What do you have here, Chargers versus Colts?
Yeah, I took the Chargers at a flat 3 at the open, so I'll probably end up getting a push when they win on the second field goal. But this Colts team is just a corpse, and I hate to say I'd probably lay 4 with the Chargers, but
stop! You would not.
It's hard.
Corpse. They were a truck in the first half last week.
Yeah, and then how do you lose a game like that and then get up for a game the next week? That's what I'm saying. Like
professionals, they still covered. They had a good.
And it's not like last week. Like, okay, yeah, the Chargers they should have won that game. You should have put more points, but they were going against Mike Vrabel. Like, at least they had a good coach, so you can.
Yeah, they were also going against the 7th-string cornerback.
I'm just saying, at least they had a good coach. This is Jeff Saturday. He's like, I can't in good faith recommend laying 4 with the Chargers. So I'll say this game's a pass for me, but I absolutely would not bet the Colts here.
Okay, fair enough. I was very excited to bet Michael Pittman over receptions, but now I feel like I can't do that because the quarterback changed, and I don't know what Nick Foles is going to do. I'm really annoyed.
Yeah, and I would have liked to bet Deion Jackson, but then apparently Zach Moss is the lead in this offense.
Would you look at Keenan Allen receptions?
Yeah, that was my one prop in this game. So he seems to be back at full strength as Herbert's number 1 target. What did he have? Another 10 targets last week, 14 the week before that, 14 the week before that. So 8 receptions, 12 receptions, 6 receptions. So yes, if we're getting 6.5 reception line, I'll take the over.
All right, fair enough. And that'll wrap up our game-by-game breakdown for Week 16. We will close out the show here with our long shots of the week. I will give you the honors. What do you have?
Go ahead. I want to pull the line up or the odds up for mine because I know it's posted.
All right, I will take the easy button route here and take Derrick Henry 150 rush yards and the Tennessee Titans money line. I don't know what else you want to say about this one.
It's not even a long shot.
I mean, the odds will be, but it feels like it should be like minus 110. Like, I mean, this is going to happen. Yeah, I think we already said it. Henry's last 4 games, he has been over 200 yards, over 22 carries, and had multiple touchdowns in every single game. Get creative, take some alt lines. Titans are going to win the game, and Henry will go off. Easy. Yeah. What do you have?
All right, I am going with FanDuel has the line and total parlays preset. So I'm going to the Commanders game, and I am taking a Washington Commanders plus 7.5 and the under 39.5 on the total. So that's right now is plus 200 on FanDuel. So like I said, expect expect the 49ers defense to keep doing what they're doing in terms of the under, and I expect this to be a tougher matchup for Brock Purdy than what he's seen. Washington Commanders defense, great against the run, I think can hold the 49ers in check enough to keep this total under and stay within the touchdown. So 7.5 and under 39.5.
All right. Love that. Better while you were talking. Made a good case.
Thank
I
you.
like it. All right. Ready for our favorite bets of the week?
Yes. I've been going
to go first or second.
Back and you go, because I feel like you might pick one of mine and then I'll take the other one. So I have two.
All right. My favorite bet of the week. I'm going nowhere else but to my Detroit Lions. Laying 2.5 on the road at the Panthers. I don't know what else you want me to say. Their defense has been trending up in a big way over the last 7 weeks. They rank number 10 in DVOA in defense. We know all the playmakers on the offense. They're getting Jameson Williams more involved. I still don't think the market is fully capturing how good the Lions are, and I like this matchup for them. We talked about how Panthers can't get a run game going. They aren't going to be able to score points on offense. The Panthers defense has been solid, but I still think that the Lions just have too much talent on offense. We just saw them score 20 points on a really good Jets defense, and that was with, fourth down stop, missed field goal, all that. So, this is just keep riding the Lions train here. The market is still not fully adjusted. Grab it before it hits 3, and let's cash again with the Detroit Lions.
All right.
What do you got?
I am going to go with the Tennessee Titans. I just don't think. I just don't think you can make a case that Ryan Tannehill's worth 4 points to a spread, 4.5 points. It's dropped from 7.5 all the way down to
not
3.
Against the Texans. I mean, I feel like in other matchups, but in this matchup, yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah, the Titans won this game early in the year handedly with Malik Willis at quarterback. He only needed to attempt 10 passes in the game. He threw an interception in the game, and they still ended up winning. They won 17-10, but like I said, Texans scored with 20 seconds left in the game to bring that to 7. So 3 points here. You made the case for Derrick Henry. Really not much you can say. I expect the Titans to take care of business here with the Jaguars right on their heels in the division. That division could come down to the final game of the season.
That would be so much fun.
Pretty exciting. So yeah, all the incentive for the Titans to get back on track here. So give me the Titans at -3.
All right. I love it. Playing back against the line move all day. We'll take the Titans at 3.
All right.
All right. Look ahead lines for next week before we get out of here.
Yep.
Do we just have the one? Did we find any other ones yet?
That's the only one I like. I think at this point in the season, you don't want to get too carried away just because now's when the playoff scenarios are coming into play, depending on who wins games this week. So not going to get too crazy on the look aheads.
So what's the bet?
But the one we found, to me, is one of the most asinine look ahead lines that I've seen the entire season. And it is Steelers +6.5. +6.5. You might think they're playing the Buffalo Bills. No. The Kansas City Chiefs. No. They are playing the Baltimore Ravens,
who can barely score 7 points.
Steelers +6.5 versus the Baltimore Ravens. Last 5 games between these teams, the margin of victory is 2, 3, 1, 5, and 4. So I don't think, even if Lamar Jackson's back, I don't think this spread should be above 3. So absolutely love the Steelers at +6.5. And the Steelers are going to still be playing hard, if even more so the reason to bet them if you're on them like we are this week. So definitely one of my favorite look ahead lines so far this season.
Yeah, absolutely love it. I don't think I had any other ones. I like the Cowboys at -3, but I didn't bet it. And now the line has gone crazy because Tannehill's out and the Titans are now 5.5. So that's unfortunate. But yeah, I don't think there was any other ones that really stood out. So yeah, Steelers it is.
All right.
Maybe the Niners.
What's that?
-5 at the Raiders.
Yeah.
If the Raiders lose this week, their season's over. Would they just get destroyed by the Niners defense? I don't know. They're a weird team. Maybe they would just win that game now that they're out.
Let me work on winning this week's bet in a Raiders game, and then we'll get on the next.
All right, don't get carried away.
Although we're on a hot streak. We won last week,
The one in a row. That's
one in a row. That's what I'm saying. It's better than we can say for most of the season betting on the Raiders.
All right, we'll take it at 1-0, and we'll cash out and bet Steelers this week.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone out there, for tuning in. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at BetRightPod. Smash the like button on YouTube. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We appreciate them very much. The link to the YouTube video will be in the description of this podcast. From Jeff and Rue, we are the Bet Right Sports Betting Podcast, because every time you bet with us, you bet right.